I think over-reliance on the Democratic Party, particularly in the public sector, has led to the atrophying of the muscles of the trade union movement. I think in many cases, the trade union movement has forgot how to fight, forgot how to bring a fight, forgot how to organize workers to pursue and achieve their goals. And I think that is in large part because of over-reliance on the Democrats, who got used to it, took us for granted, and now they're just as bad as the Republicans in many ways. With Democrats like Kathy Hochul, who needs Republicans? I mean, we have an enemy right there in Albany.
Hi, Skye, in the room, where love meets right and ideas bloom. Skye, say it loud, politics personal, she's moving the crowd.
And that's why we're here, John Samuelsen, the international president of the Transportation Workers Union, representing 160,000 people, to get to know the human side of you. Because most times when people see you on camera, it's you defending the union, fighting for public policy, fighting for change, and you have your talking points. But here we're in a relaxed environment to get to know you for you. So tell everyone in your own words, who are you?
Honestly, I'm a track worker from Brooklyn that organized workers against the miserable bastard bosses at New York City Transit in the 1990s when they were indifferent to human life, and in a very real way, I went to work every night with a gang of track workers and dealt with bosses that gave us work instructions and didn't really care if we came home at night to our families. So that was a moment that we had to organize and fight back, or continue to deal with a rash of deaths on the subway tracks in New York City. So we organized.
Hey, you organize, and that's what you still do now, is organizing.
Yeah, I'm an organizer. That's really what I do. I organize workers, and I've moved up the ranks and obviously taken over the International Transport Workers Union, which is the greatest job that one in my position could ever imagine having. You know, Michael J. Quill, the famous Kerryman, founded the TWU. He was incredible. And I have his job. I mean, for a track worker in a Brooklyn track worker in the New York City subway system, to have Mike Quill's job is breathtaking still.
And that goes back to your Irish roots also.
100%, yeah. Yeah, so my roots are in Ireland. My father was half Norwegian, half Irish, but my mother is almost all Irish. Her roots are in the north of Ireland, so she's got some, unfortunately, Scottish blood in her. Well, not unfortunately, but she's got the Scottish planter blood in her, like so many others in the north. But yeah, my roots are in Ireland. I've been there a load of times. I started going there when I was young, and it's incredible. Well, that is where my roots are.
Yeah. And now in this role as international president, what is your day-to-day like? Because it's not just here in New York. You're all over the place.
Yeah, so I run a national union. We're the biggest airline union in the country. When we're in New York, I think the instinct is to associate the Transport Workers Union with the New York City subway and bus system. But truthfully, we have more airline workers now than we do public transit workers as a result of all the organizing, the aggressive organizing, new worker organizing. So yeah, my head office is in D.C. I spend a huge amount of time in Miami. We run the transit system there. I spend time in Dallas. I travel basically for a living. That's what I really do.
And you said airline workers. What some airlines as examples?
So we have 30,000 members at American Airlines. We have over 30,000 at Southwest, including 23,000 Southwest flight attendants, who are really they have the greatest contract in the airline of any flight attendants in the world, and TWU Local 556. So over 30,000 at Southwest, 30,000 at American. We have around 7,400 JetBlue flight attendants that we organized when I first took over the International, TWU. Yeah. We have workers at Envoy, American Eagle, and across many airlines. We're the biggest air dispatcher local in the country, the biggest airline worker union in the country.
Wow.
So we're all over the place.
All over the place. And you mentioned Miami running the system there too?
Yeah, well, Miami, we have the transit system in Miami. We also have an enormous amount of airline workers in Florida because of Fort Lauderdale and Miami and West Palm, or, PBI. Yeah. As well as we also have, which nobody would realize, we have the Kennedy Space Center. So we maintain the launch pads. We have a ton of technicians at a TWU that work on like Elon Musk's space adventures and whatnot. And
Space
we also have all
adventures.
the emergency response workers, the firefighters at Kennedy Space Center and Cape Canaveral. So our footprint in Florida is growing tremendously as well. We're doing a lot of organizing. We just organized the Bright Line.
Oh, that new train,
Yeah.
the fast train.
Yeah. The bosses are horrific there. There's a miserable bastard boss from Ireland, from County Cork, what we would call a West Brit. Guy thinks he's English.
What,
Carries himself like
he's in charge of the Bright Line?
Yeah, he's the CEO.
Okay.
I think his first name is Patrick. I think his last name is Goddard, but he's relatively insignificant in my world. Otherwise, I would know his name right away.
Okay.
Yeah, but I know he's a mean-spirited guy that didn't want to deal with us, and it was the most unintelligent move he made. We could have advanced Brightline politically in terms of their quest for funding in Washington D.C. if they worked with us cooperatively. Instead, they chose to make us an enemy. They chose to make their own workforce an enemy, and it was a foolish move. So it's one I'm not forgetting.
Something I like about you is that you just say what you're thinking. Like, you're not afraid to call someone bad names, and you just do it.
I don't just say what I'm thinking. I think about what I'm saying.
Do you?
Yeah, so anything you hear out of my mouth is,
Well thought out.
It's not accidental.
So what do you do in these situations, like when you're defending your workforce, you're organizing them, you're getting the members, and then like a fight like this comes up? What does that look like in order for you to make a statement or to...
Organize workers, identify the goal. At Brightline, it's getting a contract. Identify a goal, organize workers, and then develop a strategic campaign that is loaded with juicy tactics to achieve our goal, whether it's winning a contract fight or a new worker organizing drive or, a piece of legislation.
How do you know when the right time to move the different pieces is?
Yeah, I think that's, at least part of my success is being
Knowing
able to
that.
maestro the resources that we have and deploy them where necessary. A lot of that is instinct. A lot of it is experience. Some of it is risk-taking. Not much of it, though, but some.
How did you learn to be this way, like with the strategy and the orchestrating and the maestro, as you called it? Like, what was it about you and your upbringing or your life that taught you how to do this?
Well, first of all, it is a real truth that as a young track worker in Brooklyn and Manhattan and the Bronx and Queens occasionally, in the 1990s, track workers were getting hit by trains or electrocuted relatively, at a pretty high rate.
Why?
Because of the bosses at New York City Transit put an emphasis on time train performance and maintenance production rather than on the dignity and respect for human life and the lives of their workers. They were essentially using track workers for cannon fodder and signal maintainers and third rail maintainers, all of us that work on the tracks.
What, that was like a state decision? Who was in charge of that decision that it was orchestrated that way?
It was the culture at New York City Transit. And it's improved dramatically, but it is still the underlying culture. If it wasn't for the Transport Workers Union and TWU Local 100, really, on the tracks and in the bus system in New York, it would be a far more dangerous place. We achieved great things by organizing workers to fight back and compel safer working conditions on the subway tracks. And that is where I got my start in the 90s in terms of directly organizing workers. So I learned a ton. And then I did for the union. Me and another guy were in charge of unannounced safety inspections, where we would do for the union unannounced safety inspections and descend on a work site in the subway or up on the elevator structure, do a safety inspection and shut the job down if it was unsafe. And I learned a ton doing it.
Well, you would do it internally just to ensure when another inspector came that everyone was up to snuff. Is that why?
Well, we would do unannounced safety inspections. We would literally shut down unsafe work, which is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And ultimately, there's no doubt that the union saved lives with these aggressive safety inspections in the 90s. But the other reason is if the bosses know that the union is going around doing unannounced safety inspections, they'll have a tendency to work safer or to instruct more safe work.
Yeah. So when we think about safety and what that means operationally, you're mentioning a huge difference from what it was to what it is now with the help of TWU. Like, how do you measure safety? Not, is it lives lost? There's got to be other things.
Well, the ultimate goal is to not have loss of life in the subway system.
Yeah.
I mean, just by the amount of unannounced safety inspections that the union performs, and they're still performing them, and the amount of defects, safety defects or safety shortcomings that will be found in 2026 as opposed to 1996 and 1997 is dramatically different. The job sites are far safer in 2026, not because of the MTA or New York City Transit or freaking the illustrious Jano Lieber, but only strictly because of the Transport Workers Union and transit workers themselves.
You said illustrious Jano Lieber. We like Jano Lieber?
No, I'm not a fan.
Who are you a fan of?
I'm a fan of anybody who treats workers correctly and with a high level of respect. And those, particularly in the elected official realm, are becoming fewer and fewer.
So thinking about that, thinking about working with government, because you're mentioning some of these government leaders and the relationship between the Department of Transportation, the MTA, the state government, what is it that you're looking for from government?
Yeah, so just strictly with the MTA in New York, we have 4 local unions at the MTA with about 50,000 members, a little less than 50,000 members at the MTA. We're looking, not particularly with the freaking Democrats, and it's one of the reasons I get pissed off that the Democrats control the public sector in nearly every urban environment in America. We don't bargain contracts in any public transit system with anybody but the Democrats. We don't get into contract bargaining with Republican-controlled body entities. In some cases, there's bipartisan control, but it's largely the Democrats. And we are in far too many fights with those who claim to be our friends. It's just utterly ridiculous. And it's one of the reasons that you see me appearing to be, I guess, angry on occasion, although that's not the case. I don't get angry. I get even, but I just don't get angry. Anger is not a part of the equation when we're trying to win a fight.
Yeah. But when you say you don't get into the contract bargaining with Republicans, what? Because
they don't control urban America.
Okay.
So the Democrats control urban America, and we're in one conflict after another. I mean, the latest example, not the biggest example, but it's that doesn't diminish its importance to me or to the TWU, is Akron, Ohio. 300 public transit workers in Akron, Ohio, and the CEO of the system is also the chairman of the local Democratic Party. He's the chair of a extremely important and influential Democratic Party in Ohio, and he's sticking it to us in the contract negotiations to an overwhelmingly African American workforce, and he's a freaking waspy white guy from Ohio. Like if you had like a picture dictionary and you looked up WASP, his photo would be next to the, his photo would exemplify the definition. Anyway, so we're in a fight with them, and he controls the Democratic Party.
Is that legal? Ohio. Is it legal?
Is
it a conflict of interest, or it's ethically?
Yeah,
it's okay. It's above board.
It's lawful. There have been recent reports of his, malfeasance in other areas and perhaps illegality in other areas, but it's not because he runs the system. But one would think of a Democrat who runs the regional Democratic Party, which is extremely important in Ohio. One would think that if he runs the transit system in Akron, that we wouldn't be in a pitched battle over transit workers, and we're not asking for the world. He's refused to bargain a contract in good faith. They haven't had a raise in 2.5 years. They don't even get bathroom breaks. The guy won't even allow bathroom breaks to be a part of daily life. So, and this is a contract that's come onto our radar. Our local unions usually negotiate contracts until they're at a loggerhead with the boss. So now it's on my radar. So we're running very shortly a strategic campaign based right out of Washington D.C. and we're gonna move to annihilate that Democrat, and then I'm gonna have other Democrats say, "Well, why'd you do it to that guy? He's a Democrat. He's not your enemy." And the truth of the matter is, he's our absolute enemy. and we're going to seek to harm him in every way and win a contract.
It's strategic. That's what strategy is. Is that what strategy is?
Strategy is, and I don't know what the dictionary definition of strategy is, but strategy involves the overall goal, and tactics are how you advance the strategy to get to a goal.
Wow.
You know, our strategy is to win a fair contract. And our strategy, our broader strategy might be to win what above inflation wage increases and bathroom breaks.
Right.
So that's tied into the goal. And then the tactics that we apply to that to win have all of the trappings of a strategic campaign.
So in Akron, Ohio, there are current TWU members that don't have bathroom breaks?
Yeah.
How is that
Bus
possible?
operators, because it's a freaking douchey
How long is
Democrat
a
that runs the
shift? How long is a shift?
10 hours? 11
No
hours?
bathroom break.
Well, no, they can take bathroom. They do take bathroom breaks, but they don't have a rational schedule about bathroom breaks. They don't have they don't have a place to relieve themselves in most cases at the end of a run. Whereas if you go to New York City or Philly or Miami, there's even a schedule of 7-Elevens where the bathroom is available to New York City Transit bus operators, MTA bus operators in New York, and there's nothing like that in Akron. There's a complete indifference by the bosses in Akron, Ohio, to the notion that workers should be treated with sufficient dignity that they actually get bathroom breaks.
So do you think that's the problem, or do they not realize, or maybe they don't know whose job it is? Like, I'm just thinking about when you say that there are 7-Elevens.
They're miserable bastard bosses who think that if you don't provide bathroom breaks for a bus operator, that the bus operator will be less inclined to get off the bus and relieve themselves, and they'll make it to the end of the run. And that's about on-time bus performance. That's about dominance. That's about boss dominance thinking over workers, and it's everything we fight against. And we're going to prevail in Ohio, and we're going to win. And again, I said it before. There'll be somebody saying, "I can't believe that you treated the Democrats in this way." Well, when the Democrats suck, we're going to call them out. Okay. When the Democrats are good, we're gonna reward them and say thank you for doing the right thing by working people.
Yeah. So do you feel like you're teaching? Because here in New York, we're dominated by Democrats. Like you said, that's the situation in a lot of urban cities in America. Do you feel
almost all of them?
Do you have good relationships with Democrats in New York?
Yeah, I have good relationships with almost everybody.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, it's when I do something like, say, Governor Kathy Hochul created the pathway for the employers during this nurses strike, which is now still ongoing. Right? There's one more hospital that is not under contract. So she created the pathway for the bosses to bring in out-of-town scabs. She did that. She's a Democrat. So when I say Kathy Hochul scabbed the nurses strike, I have other people saying, "Oh, what do you want, a Republican to win?" I'm like, no. I don't really care who wins, and if the Democratic governor of New York State is atrocious. So I don't care who wins, as if I'm supposed to allow for her being a freaking piece of shite when it comes to worker treatment. Like I'm supposed to take into account that she's a Democrat. Like, oh, I shouldn't be critical because it's a Democrat doing that. The labor movement in America has suffered greatly from its over-reliance on the Democratic Party. Mm-hmm. And it's the reason why the Democrats have drifted further into an abyss, an indifference to economic security for workers abyss. And it's part of the reason is that the trade union movement has not called balls and strikes with the Democrats. Mm. And this is not to say that the Republicans are special, because most Republicans are horrific. And on aggregate, the Republicans are worse than the Democrats. But that's also not to say that there aren't stellar Republicans, because there are. Like Brian Fitzpatrick from Bucks County in Pennsylvania, he's got a 100% voting record, not only with the Transport Workers Union, but with many, many unions. He's super pro-labor. And because he's a Republican, there are those in the trade union movement that won't support him. Only because he's a Republican. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. And my own members should hold me to account if we become a partisan player in these national politics and say when the Democrats are horrible, we're not going to call them out. And when the Republicans are great, we're not going to reward them with support. That's a bad place to be. Because
you're neutral. You're not with the Democrats or Republicans. You represent your workers, and it's really based on personality and politics and how people react to what you want and you're advocating for your workers.
Yeah. It's not about personality. There's some really miserable people out there that are pro-worker and pro-trade union. So it's not about personality. It's about delivering for workers.
Yeah, delivering for workers.
Yeah.
Okay. So are you in conversation with other labor leaders and other union union leaders?
Let me tell you something. The overwhelming majority of trade union leaders in New York State dislike Hochul. They recognize that she's a boss's governor, that she's not a governor for working people. She's a governor for the vested financial interests in New York State and beyond. So most trade union leaders recognize that, and they'll hold their nose and do their endorsements because Hochul controls the budget, and she'll hammer them in the budget if they don't endorse her, that type of thing. So but the near totality of trade union leaders in the state recognize her shortcomings, which are vast.
But like by giving this tough love, what do you think happened? She gives you what you want? Like, what is the outcome with you calling it like it is?
Well, what the outcome is that my members are well served because I'm not covering for crappy Democrats, and I'm certainly not an advocate of the Republicans either. People ask me what I am now, and I'm embarrassed to say that I'm a registered Democrat. I say I'm a trade unionist.
Yeah.
Even though there are exemplary Democrats that hold elected office far more than the Republicans. So again, I'm not advocating for the Republicans in any way because one party just completely takes us for granted and the other party is very frequently trying to kill us. Mm-hmm. So working people have nobody but each other. We have ourselves alone to advance working people. The only institution in the country that we can trust are ourselves, the trade union movement.
Yeah. What can the trade union movement do more of to educate our officials, city, state, and local officials to actually show them what it is that your workers need?
It's not. You know how you educate an elected official? You attack the living daylights out of that elected official when that elected official sticks it to workers. That's how you educate them. After a couple of conversations to say, maybe, hey, like, you need to do this to us? So, and I think that's a problem. I think over-reliance on the Democratic Party, particularly in the public sector, has led to the atrophying of the muscles of the trade union movement. I think in many cases, the trade union movement has forgot how to fight, forgot how to bring a fight, forgot how to organize workers to pursue and achieve their goals. And I think that is in large part because of over-reliance on the Democrats who got used to it, took us for granted, and now they're just as bad as the Republicans in many ways.
So
honestly, with Democrats like Kathy Hochul, who needs Republicans? I mean, we have an enemy right there in Albany.
Wow, you really have some strong opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. And yeah. I mean, what Democrat scabs a strike and then steps up and says, I'm a Democrat and I'm a pro-trade union Democrat? It's actually laughable. And it's really kind of, I am really kind of let down that trade unions aren't calling her out left and right about her anti-trade union actions.
Well, maybe now after they hear this podcast, maybe they'll follow your lead.
No, I doubt it. They're all tied up in the budget process, and I understand that. I'm not being critical. I understand when unions do an endorsement is because there's an expectation that there's an ally in Albany, and I would be willing to bet that they're all going to be let down heavily with their endorsements of Kathy Hochul.
And I know you recently did not endorse her.
No, my national leadership will not endorse an anti-trade union politician. We're just not going to do it. I never have, and I won't. But that doesn't mean that we won't have locals that endorse her, and we're probably going to have locals that endorse Blakeman too. Mm-hmm. We have a local that runs Nassau County Transit and Suffolk County Transit, and they've had excellent dealings with him. There's a lot of other trade unions that have very good dealings with Blakeman too.
Yeah,
I think there's a conclusion that is unfortunately jumped to about Blakeman that he's anti-trade union because he's a Republican. And shame on the Republicans because that is so often the case that it's not irrational to believe that a Republican is anti-trade union because they almost always are. But Blakeman is not that. And there's a lot of Northeast Republicans now that are becoming increasingly pro-worker.
Yeah, I think that's what I mean when I say personality. It's not just personality. It's like the whole view of the person. Like you're saying, you can't just say all Republicans are this way, all Democrats are this way. It's really person by person who acts in what way and believes in what.
Yeah, so it comes down to an individual voting record,
correct.
essentially, or individual support.
Individual support.
Yeah, I still don't think it's personality, but I get what you're saying.
So what is it that TWU, what are you looking for right here in New York leading into, I know your contract is coming up in May. So what is it that you want that you're not getting?
I think in many ways it's the opposite. Although there was certainly that. We had bills on pension reform, and of course a bill about the 2-person train crew, the conductor, that Hochul vetoed, which is just...
I'm wearing my conductor's outfit for you
very
today.
nice. I was going to compliment you on it.
Yes.
It's, it was a politically foolish move on Hochul's part to veto the bill that keeps the 2-person train crew.
So, yeah,
there's a vocal minority of these out-of-town freaking abundance bros that freak out when I say they're from out of town. They just can't cope with the notion that they're from like Idaho and they moved to Harlem after growing up somewhere, and then they write on their Twitter bio that I'm from Harlem, New York City, which only somebody who's not from Harlem would write, I'm from Harlem, New York City. And they just don't realize how foolish that is. And it's sort of like these out-of-town abundance bros, these adherents to this abundance philosophy, which, I don't know how many, if you're familiar with that or who is familiar with that, but they're essentially Reaganomics guys. They're like Reaganomics dudes that eat kale chips and freaking drink cold brew coffee and do all kinds of other sort of like Mary Jane things that working class New Yorkers would never do.
Okay. And
am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want. Right. So wait, who are these people? Are what?
They're transit advocates. What they are is postmodern urbanists. They have what they call an urbanist philosophy, forgetting that there are outer boroughs in New York City that really don't give a rat's ass about their agenda, and in their naivety, they believe that if they eliminate like 3,000 conductors, which they're trying to do, that cost savings would then be infused into the system to improve service somehow. But it's a ridiculous notion. It's like right out of the prairie or something. It's so absurdly naive.
So let's back up, because I mentioned the contract in May, and then you reminded me that it was really about the opto bill. That happened first. That happened first.
Well, what happened? So we have a contractual guarantee. There's nobody's getting the 2-person train crew eliminated. They're not going to.
But that was a bill that came
God willing,
forward.
I'll be here for 10, 12, 15 more years, and I'll engage in pitch battles with everybody and their grandmother over the protection of the 2-person train crew. And we're not alone in this. The overwhelming majority of New York City Transit riders, probably over 80%, want the human presence in the system. They want the 2-person train crew. They understand the importance of it. So how this began is every contract that I bargained since 2010, the employer, the MTA, has tried to take the conductors. They have tried to take the conductors. There was a move to eliminate, because they want the headcount savings. So it's either neoliberal bean counters like Cuomo, although I would rather have Cuomo back, I think, than some other. Nah, I can't really say that. That's not true. I don't want Cuomo back.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's neoliberal bean counters like Hochul and Cuomo, or blended with these out-of-town abundance people.
That don't want there to be train conductors?
Right. The abundance people think that the abundance people, like Ezra Klein, although I don't know what his specific position is on Opto, on 1-person train operation, but the adherents to Ezra Klein's philosophy certainly want to get rid of the conductors. They think that their taxes can get cut, and they think also that part of the savings can be put toward better service. But it's ridiculous. There have been massive headcount reductions over the years, closure of station booths, where a reduced number of station agents, the number has been reduced either through attrition or they've been trained for other work. And that has never resulted in better service.
Wait, sorry if this is a dumb question. If there's no conductor, then who's driving the train?
So the conductor is actually opens and closes the doors. The conductor is actually in charge of the train.
Okay.
But the train operator, a train driver, essentially drives the train.
So we're talking about subways?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's an operator that's driving the subway.
Yeah.
And then
he's operating the consist. He's operating the train.
Okay. And then there's the conductor that's on the train.
The conductor is on the train in a conductor's cab. The conductor generally goes from one side of the train to the other, depending on where the doors open. Depending on the configuration of the platform they're pulling into.
Okay.
So what's going on is that getting back to Hochul, we've been
Your
fighting
favorite topic.
We've been fighting this off for many years.
Okay.
And many contracts, predating my presidency of Local 100, and I was elected at the end of 2009. So it's quite some time now. So even predating me.
There was always a fight to get rid of the
there's
train
always
conductors.
a fight. So, with very limited exceptions, the local has won, the TWU has won. We got a bill passed through the Senate, the state Senate, and the state Assembly with huge bipartisan support. And the bill went to Hochul to guarantee the two-person train crew, to guarantee the conductor, to stop the assault that we go through every contract negotiation. And she vetoed it. She vetoed it. She vetoed it. And enough said.
So that's what happened recently.
That happened recently.
Okay.
And what we did is we put this piece of legislation in the lead up to this contract negotiation, which is forthcoming in a couple of months,
Okay.
believing that if Hochul signed the bill, which she should have, to her detriment that she didn't. So if she signed the bill, we wouldn't have been faced with a demand to eliminate the two-person train crew, to eliminate the conductor. But she vetoed the bill. We start bargaining in 6 weeks or 2 months for a new contract, and I would bet that there'll be a demand at some point or a push to get rid of the conductor, which we'll win. But we were looking to focus on other things and not continually have this fight.
Wow.
But we're fine. We'll fight it out. We'll beat our enemies and we'll win.
Right. Because that's your strategy that you mentioned earlier.
No,
that's what you do.
That's our thing.
So by Hochul vetoing this bill to not have two people on the train,
Yeah.
the fight begins.
Yeah. She declared herself to be an enemy of the TWU. She declared herself to be supportive of our other enemies. She's joined them. She's joined those that think that if they eliminate 3,000 conductors, somehow their taxes will get cut, or somehow it'll lead to an investment in better service. Both are ridiculous on every freaking level you could ever imagine.
Right. So when we look at both sides of it, that's what I was going to ask. Like, where's the money coming from? Where's the money going? Like, who are the stakeholders on either side of the issue? If the bill passed with bipartisan support in the state Senate and state Assembly, why would the governor veto that?
Because she's beholden to financial interests in Manhattan that think that they'll get a tax reduction. She's beholden to all these freaking weirdos that believe in this abundance philosophy. All these kale chip eating kind of freaks that want to get rid of the conductor as they eat their kale chips in a loft in Harlem or Williamsburg. Yeah. Anyway,
are they even taking the subway? These people that you're thinking of?
I don't know, honestly. They ride a lot of bicycles.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. They do consider themselves urbanists. They do think it's good public policy to reduce headcount in the subway. They're crazy. They're crazy.
When I take the subway, I feel safe when I see that there are train operators, conductors, all the titles. I like people that are wearing a uniform like mine, the MTA. I feel safe when I see them on the train. I like a human presence, but a human presence of people that work there, not just like other bodies too around, but like people that work there. That makes me feel safe.
Of course, because it is safer. Because what you're sensing is a reality, that it's safer. And by the way, New York City transit workers, New York City subway workers tell their spouses and their children to ride the conductor car on the train. That's a foreign concept to these out-of-town people.
Right, because there's all kinds of things that happen on the subway nowadays.
Right. And not to mention, New York City, unlike any other city in the world, there are evacuations out of the subway on a constant basis.
Yeah.
There are homeless people hit on the track every week. Every time that somebody's run over on the tracks, mostly homeless people, every time that happens in the hole, deep in the hole, there's an evacuation. The train trips out, it can't go forward, it's got to get towed out of the hole or reset, have the brakes reset. So there's an evacuation. A two-person train crew, they are experts at evacuating New York City transit riders. Anybody who's ever been in an evacuation knows how absurd it is to think that one person can evacuate hundreds of people out of a train. God forbid there's a disabled person on the train in a wheelchair. That person is doomed. It's doomed to the philosophy of the abundance bros. Yeah.
What's the, like, when you were a track worker, like, I never, like, homeless people get hit every week? There's someone that gets hit?
Yeah.
Have you witnessed that?
Yeah.
Really?
I have, yeah. Many times. Many
During,
times.
during the evacuation part, cleaning it up?
Both.
Tell us a gory, scary story.
There are many of them.
Pick one.
I'll tell you what is like freaky
Yeah.
is somebody's hit by a train, a homeless person. They're hit by the train. There's blood and guts all over the place, right? And it's totally common to see rats feeding on the dead body and rats running away with chunks of flesh. That's something you really never get used to.
And you've seen that.
That's common, and I have seen that. Yeah, as a track inspector, I saw probably the most disturbing thing that I saw, which was underneath Bay Ridge in Brooklyn, with my flagger. I was a track inspector. Was a Wall Street guy tried to commit suicide. So he put his hands on the running rail. He put his hands on the rail, and he was going to launch himself. He was going to launch himself in front of an oncoming train on an express track on a local track at 4th Avenue, 59th Street. So Sunset Park, Bay Ridge. And so he did it. He had his hands on the rail, and at the last second he chickened out and he forgot to take his hands off the rail. So the flange of the train wheel went by and cut his hands off, right off. So when I got there, his hands were on the running rail. His hands was still on the running rail, and he was walking, and he tried to get up the ladder. He tried to get up the ladder onto the station platform, and all of the tendons were dangling out of the stumps where his hands were, like spaghetti, and he couldn't figure out why he couldn't climb up onto the station platform.
Because he was in shock.
He was in shock, and he didn't realize his hands got cut off.
Oh.
And not only that, the flange of the train wheel is hot. It cauterized the wound to some extent, so there wasn't a ton of blood coming out, but there was, spaghetti-like tendons and ligaments dangling. He looked like a sea creature. I still think about it, and that happened.
I feel like I was there the way you just described it.
That happened in around 2006, like 20 years ago. 2007, it happened.
Wow.
It's wild.
Wow. But it's your workers that deal with situations like that need that.
Sure.
It's beneficial to have them there when there are these
without a doubt.
crazy
So that happened
situations.
within a station environment, but had that happened deeper in the hole, that would have triggered an evacuation. So now a train crew is dealing with a guy that just got his hands cut off in the subway. They're dealing with an evacuation that has to take place in the middle of the night, essentially. And for one person, for there to be an expectation that one person can do it as effectively as a two-person train crew is ludicrous.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything, like I know that bill was a big deal with the Opto, the one-person train operator. Is there anything else that you're bargaining for during this time with the contract renewal that's a non-negotiable for your workers?
So, first of all, Local 100 bargains their own contract. I will certainly assist and I'll be at the bargaining table. But I think there's a couple of areas here which everybody who's watching this could understand. We want reasonable, above inflation wage increases, reasonable. We don't want degradation of our health benefits. Health benefits, people go to work for New York City Transit to get a pension and health benefits, right? Because there are construction trades, highly trained people like elevator maintainers that could make a ton more money on the outside. But when you go to work with the TWU at New York City Transit or the MTA, so the pay is less, but the medical benefits are like unbelievably good. And there's a pension. So the trade-off is you make less on an hourly wage, but you have a better pension and better benefits generally. And so we will fight for a rational wage increase. We'll fight against any degradation of our benefits. And people talk about work rules in the subway. There are no lavish work rules. That's a fantasy and a gimmick on the part of the bosses to always say that New York City Transit workers have work rules. We don't. Those rules that the media talks about and whatnot are on the railroads. They're on the commuter rails. They're not in the New York City Transit system.
What are the work rules?
Work rules are the terms and conditions of work, like an 8-hour day, 2 days off in a row.
Those types of things.
2 days off in a row.
And that doesn't exist.
They're all the contractual mitigators against these bosses doing whatever they want with us. The work rules essentially allow us to schedule our lives and our family lives in a rational way.
And that doesn't exist, you're saying, right now?
Oh no, we have working conditions that are laid out in the contract. They're just not lavish working conditions where I see the media talk about these or these think tanks talk about work rules in the New York City transit system that cost everybody a ton of money. They don't exist. What they're talking about are in the suburbs,
Okay.
not in New York City.
Okay. Okay.
So we're looking to protect what we have, essentially. We're not looking for massive gains. We're looking for wage increases that are reasonable, and we're looking not to suffer a degradation of our conditions.
And if you don't get what you want,
Oh, it's not even a question. We're going to get what we want because we're going to fight. And when you fight, you win. Things happen.
wow.
There's not even a question of what the outcome is going to be.
With you at the helm.
Well, with this current leadership of the National TWU, working in conjunction with our biggest affiliate, TWU Local 100, and John Chiarello is the local president, and his leadership team and my national leadership team are together on everything. Even though he probably has a softer position on the deficiencies in our, not so illustrious governor in New York State. He's got a softer position when it comes to her. Yeah.
Because I could just imagine, like, thinking of the FIFA World Cup coming to the New York, New Jersey area
Yeah.
right in June.
Yeah.
And if you're, like, this contract negotiation, this fight's ongoing, could a worst case scenario be that we're not having on-time buses and subways and
I don't know. It
the
seems
workers?
like a lot of leverage.
How do you
FIFA.
how do you determine when to go on strike? You imagine going on strike and no one can get to the World Cup. Could
Yeah.
something like that happen?
I mean, I don't foresee any strike happening. The last strike was 21 years ago.
Wow.
I don't foresee us going on strike. I believe that strategic campaigning with aggressive tactics against our enemies is sufficient to win us a contract without striking.
Wow.
Yeah.
But in general, how does a union know when to go on strike? Like you mentioned, the nurses strike. What is that decision making like? And
So
how do
I
you
don't know what
when?
the decision making was of
Right.
in the nurses situation, but with our situation, a strike is a tactic of last resort. It's not a strategy; it's a tactic to advance a strategy. I think there's a lot of confusion about that. I do think that also a generational confusion, as if striking is like a thing to do. Striking is not a thing to do. Striking is a thing to do as a tactic of last resort when there's no other potential outcome that can win a contract. So we've conducted strikes. We've been an hour or two away in Philadelphia just very recently from striking SEPTA in the city of Philadelphia, and we won. We won. The employer and the employer caved,
Oh.
and that's probably the wrong word. The employer came to a rational conclusion about cooperating with us.
Love how you reframe that.
Yeah. It is the wrong word, cave. It has a negative connotation that I didn't intend, honestly. And in that case, Shapiro, the Democratic governor
Yeah.
of Pennsylvania, he stepped in and brought a settlement to the contract in a positive way. In a positive way, he was able to be a voice of reason, and that is what elected officials need to do, rather than scabbing the strike on behalf of the employers. The governor of New York State should have intervened, used the bully pulpit of being the governor and the funding. These hospitals rely on so much state funding. She had a hammer, and she just chose to side with the bosses. It's appalling. It's disgusting, and I'm not a nurse, but I'm still not getting over it anytime soon. All of our families are taken care of by nurses. Nurses are the most essential of essential workers, and the governor of New York State just like took a dump in their face. That's harsh, right?
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, she did. She scabbed the strike.
Wow.
The strike wouldn't have lasted 2 days if she didn't allow the scabs to come in. And she it's counterintuitive, and she probably wasn't thinking about it that way. She definitely wasn't thinking about it that way. But by allowing the bosses to scab the strike, she guaranteed that the strike would be lengthy and drawn out. If the bosses had no access to out-of-town nurses not licensed in New York, they would have had to come to the table, and it would have led to a rational settlement. But instead, she empowered them. She gave them leverage that they would have not been able to achieve had the Democratic governor of New York State not given them scabs and replacement workers. So shame on her.
Wow. I think anyone listening to this who's thinking about joining the Transportation Workers Union might want to join. You seem like a lot of fun.
Well, I think we have a good track record. We have workers joining up all the time. We're definitely, without a doubt, the fastest growing union in the country. I don't say that with any exaggeration. In 2017, we had 130,000 members. We have about 162 now.
Yeah.
In 2013, we had about 100,000 members. So in 13 years, we've grown by 60%. And again, I said we're the biggest airline union in the country now. It wasn't that case in 2017. We organize, we fight. The more we fight, the more we win. The more we win, more workers say, "Wow, I want a piece of that. I want to join that," and that's why we're growing.
Right. People
Yeah.
want to be in with the winning team.
They also want a union with a leadership that has a mentality that we're going to defend workers at all costs. And for us, it doesn't matter whether there's 40 workers or 40,000 workers. We're in it, in the fight.
Wow. That's a great message for both the public and our public officials.
Yeah, public officials.
I like them a lot,
So do I.
Yeah.
There are great Democrats, and Tish James is among the greatest, Democratic elected official that I've known ever,
Okay.
for sure.
Great.
And I really do, and I endorsed her. In her, she made a decision not to run, but we did endorse her. The International TWU endorsed her right away when we found out that she was going to run for governor, and before Hochul was elected to a full term.
Uh-huh.
And I wish she was the governor. I wish it wasn't Hochul.
Wow.
We wouldn't be. I wouldn't be sitting here talking bad mouthing the governor of New York State. I'd be here applauding the governor of New York State.
Yeah. So I know you have a big event coming up, March 13th, your St. Patrick's Day event.
Yeah, one of many St. Patrick's Day event, but that particular event is a luncheon. It's an Irish American Labor Coalition luncheon, the
Okay.
James Connolly Irish American Labor Coalition luncheon. There's hundreds of trade union leaders come and participate. We have speakers about the political environment as well as about Irish culture and Irish history, and of course about the pursuit of a united Ireland, a reunited Ireland, which is when you're Irish and you grow up in Brooklyn or even on the island or in Queens or the Bronx, and maybe there's like 10 Irish families on Staten Island, so I guess them as well. That's a joke. So 26 plus 6 equals 1. 26 counties in the Republic, 6 counties under occupation by the British Army in the north, still or under occupation by the Brits. The British Army's off the streets, but they're there, lurking in the background. Yeah, so 6 counties in the north plus 26 in the Republic, so 26 plus 6 equals 1 united Ireland. The entirety of the trade union movement, the Irish trade union movement in America supports that. And that'll be a big topic of discussion at this luncheon, as it has been in the past.
Right, because of the history of the union and its ties to Ireland, but also to educate and involve your workers, because your workforce is more diverse than just Irish people. But how does that connect together?
So for us in the Transport Workers Union, there's a direct connection on at least 2 different levels. One is that the union was founded by and large by Irish immigrants. The Irish Civil War, which is absolutely tragic in the early 20s, just tragic like every civil war. The Irish Republicans that sought to continue to fight against the Brits after partition, after a so-called treaty. Mm-hmm. They were on the losing side of the Civil War, and so many of them got on the boats and they came to Philly and Boston and New York City. And those that came to New York City included the founder of our union, a Kerryman named Mike Quill. Mm. And so they came, and there were efforts in the past, many efforts to organize the New York City transit system, but they were crushed by like the Pinkertons. And so what happened, and this was like a perfect storm, the hard men and women that just fought it out in the Civil War and became this great diaspora to New York City. They got jobs in the transit system. And they were a bit unfazed by the Pinkertons after facing the British Army for all that time, and then the Civil War and the bloody struggle of a Civil War. So they came to New York and they organized the transit system. So,
so that's how it
TWU
happened.
was actually a byproduct of the Irish Civil War in many ways.
Got it. Got it.
So, and that's one thing. So we're all descended from that, and some of us are on an ethnic level descended from it. But also everybody in the TWU now, regardless of whether you're from Eastern Europe or Africa or South America, they're all politically descended and union descended from those Irish immigrants that founded the union. And another thing is James Connolly is the great Irish hero. He's actually born in Edinburgh, but he's born of Irish parents. He has a organizing philosophy called industrial trade unionism, which I certainly adhere to, and it's the reason why the TWU was so successful, and the leadership of the TWU has historically adhered to, and our founder Mike Quill adhered to. So industrial trade unionism means that we organize wall to wall, regardless of title or craft. So if you look at the New York City transit system, or Philly, or Miami, or San Francisco, where we represent workers, we represent cleaners, entry-level workers, as well as technicians that are highly trained. We represent everybody, and it gives us the power to shut a system down. If you look at the Long Island Railroad, every craft belongs to a different union. The train drivers are in one union, the conductors are in another union, track workers, so on and so forth. Signal maintainers are in their own union. In the New York City transit system and on TWU properties across the country, we're all in one union, and it lends itself to tremendous worker power. Industrial trade unionism equals worker power, and we're organizing along the lines of James Connolly, this unbelievable Irish hero, trade union hero, as well as a revolutionary hero. So we organize along that philosophy still. So we celebrate that as we celebrate our Irish heritage.
I understand. I don't think most people understand that history, but when you explain it now, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it does to us, and it's a winning formula.
So I look forward to being at that event.
Yeah,
and to
there'll
getting
be a discussion
into
about the conductors as well.
The spirit of the Irish. And we'll have a conversation about the opto, the conductors there?
Yeah, well, it'll come up, but, the steam fitters and plumbers, John Murphy, invited Governor Hochul. I hope she comes. I certainly will not turn this into a political melee. I'll be respectful. I hope she does come. She's Irish. She alleges that she's proud of her Irish heritage, even though she quotes Margaret Thatcher on occasion, which is a big no-no, but she's not Irish enough to realize what a no-no that is. Anyway, I hope she does come.
Okay, give us if you had Kathy Hochul sitting here and you only have 30 seconds to tell her exactly anything you want, what do you want that message to be?
Oh, if you're gonna be a Democrat, be a pro-trade union Democrat. If you want to be the boss's Democrat, just be a Republican. She's essentially a Republican who's a social liberal. That's what a neoliberal bean counting Democrat is. They're essentially they're liberal, social liberals and fiscal conservatives, or at best, fiscal moderates. I mean, Hochul is not a traditional Democrat. Everybody knows it.
So if you had 30 seconds, that's what you would say to her?
I would say be a pro-trade union Democrat. Okay. My experience with her is horrific. I bargained 2 contracts with the MTA at Metro North for our train mechanics and onboard cleaners at Metro North. With her at the helm, the MTA moved to strip us of our seniority rights. They moved to strip us of our jurisdiction so they could farm all our work out. They moved to diminish the pension of Metro North workers in the TWU. This is all under Hochul. I mean, as I say, with Democrats like that, who needs enemies? We already have an enemy.
Are other unions, you feel, under attack in the same way?
Yeah. Every time there's a negotiation with Hochul's controlled MTA, unions are under attack.
Do you feel that we have, if perhaps we had more labor union officials or workers maybe working or elected in office, that maybe that could change the paradigm and mentality of the way that we're governed?
Definitely.
Is there a
something
pipeline
that we've looked into? There's not a steady enough pipeline. There are trade unionists in government.
Yeah.
That win elections, and it's the of course.
Yeah. Really,
what would change the whole dynamic is the trade union movement and other Democrats calling balls and strikes when Democrats do anti-trade union things. That would be an absolute game changer. If trade union leadership would simply call balls and strikes. If Hochul got called out by every single prominent trade unionist in New York for scabbing the nurses' strike, she would have backed off. She would have been rightfully embarrassed and backed off.
So more people just calling out things for the way they are. I think a lot of people are hesitant to speak because of the politics of it, and they don't want to be ostracized, and they're afraid of consequences.
Ostracized by who?
Yeah, I know. Your attitude is...
Trade union leaders answer to their membership. They don't answer to the Democrats. When they start thinking they're answering to the Democrats, it's all going downhill. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a reason why union density in America is plummeting, even though 68 or 70% or more of working people in America, both in a union, not in a union, both Republican and Democrat, have a favorable opinion of trade unions and want to be in a union. The overwhelming majority of Americans want to be in a union, but trade union density is plummeting. Part of that is structural and the law. Part of that is the laws that are just completely rigged, like the dice are loaded when it comes to the law. But the other part is that there are unions that just don't invest in external organizing. And they have, I've said it before, they become reliant on the Democratic Party to advance their members rather than relying on fighting to advance their members. I don't think
All right,
so.
what are your final words, John Samuelsen?
I would talk directly to the Democrats, and who, as I said, many times, so many of them are excellent. But when the Democratic Party is working in cooperative conjunction with the trade union movement, workers are so well served. The residents of New York State would be so better served with a governor that supported the trade union movement and not support the bosses. But it's not only Hochul, it goes for other Democrats too. And everybody's very comfortable calling out Republicans, and rightfully so when they're horrible. Mm-hmm. But they lose their nerve when it comes to telling it like it is about the Democrats. And by the way, if Trump would have created a lawful pathway for out-of-town nurses to come in and scab the New York City strike, every freaking Democrat would be screaming from the rooftops about the evil that Trump just foisted upon the nurses in New York City. But a Democratic governor did it, and there's crickets. It's a terrible spot that we've wound up in. And the only way to get out of it is to hold every elected official, Republican and Democrat and independent and DSA or whatever, hold them accountable and call balls and strikes. And our alliance is to working people. It's not the political parties.
All right, that makes sense to me.
And that sums it up.
That sums it up.
Unless you got jokes.
We certainly learned a lot today.
Your outfit, by the way. It's good. It's appropriate.
Thank you. I always like to dress for the theme, and I really felt like this was appropriate for this conversation.
Because these freaking morons are going to come for the conductors. They're going to lose again. And they're going to decry the power of workers in the Transport Workers Union. These college-educated out-of-towners, they hate the fact that blue-collar workers from the outer boroughs of New York City can band together into a union and beat them. They hate it, and I love it.
But you're going to prove them wrong.
Definitely.
And I'll be there for it, dressed like a conductor.
All right. Well, maybe we'll get you a real conductor's uniform.
Oh, I would love that. I have my sanitation worker's uniform, and I'd love to have
Jano will probably have you arrested.
As long as I'm not impersonating a conductor, I'm just dressed like one.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll get it for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I look forward to that.
Whether Jano moves to have you locked up.
John, thank you for your time and for your leadership. And you're a lot of fun to follow on Twitter. And I'm sure we'll be hearing more of you through your maestro strategy activities. And I'm waiting with anticipation, and I'm also a little nervous to see what comes out of you next.
Oh, okay, good. It's good to keep you on, off balance. That's good.
That's good. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.